You won't believe the creatures ancient civilizations once swore were real. And what's even wilder is that biology today has uncovered animals that look eerily similar to those early myths. I'm about to show you 10 hybrid animals with roots so old they blur the line between legend and evolution. And the strange part is how many of them seem to echo stories humans told thousands of years before science had names for anything. Let's start with this. Ever dreamt of walking into ancient Mesopotamia with a biologist by your side? Because if you did, the first thing they'd point at is the creature carved into stone, the Lamassu, a winged bull with a human head. Now, here's the twist. Shepherds today still talk about a hybrid that feels like the Lamassu's long-lost cousin, the Zubron, a cross between domestic cattle and European bison. It's massive, muscular, and was bred to survive harsh conditions. Ancient people imagined a guardian beast. Centuries later, scientists unintentionally bred one. And you start to wonder, were our ancestors trying to describe the strength they saw in wild bison long before they had the words? One game-changing thing I learned while studying ancient mythologies is this. Whenever multiple civilizations independently talk about the same strange animal, they're almost always describing something real they saw, misunderstood, and turned into a legend. Take the liger, a lion-tiger hybrid. People think it's a modern oddity, but ancient Persian texts describe gigantic striped lions guarding royal tombs. They insisted these lions were larger than any normal cat, powerful enough to break horse spines. Sound familiar? Ligers grow larger than both parents, can hit nearly 1,000 pounds, and possess the exact kind of exaggerated strength early scribes loved to talk about. It's almost like we rediscovered the monster they were trying to explain. If you've ever wondered why so many cultures feared wolves but worshipped dog-like guardians, the next hybrid makes it clearer. The wolf dog wasn't officially recognized until recent centuries, yet ancient Greeks wrote about creatures they called theriolikos, half wolf, half dog, trusted enough to guard temples, but wild enough to terrify intruders. While they probably weren't writing about genetically bred wolf dogs, early domestication absolutely created wild-tame mixes that behaved differently from either species alone. The Greeks just gave it a dramatic name, because of course they did. But the hybrid that blows my mind isn't the biggest or the most dangerous. It's the quiet one. The koi-carp hybrid, a cross still bred today, actually traces its lineage to Chinese dynasties that believed carp could transform into dragons if they swam up waterfalls. Now, just imagine being a farmer thousands of years ago, watching your carp turn gold, spotted, massive, or long-finned through selective breeding. To them, these transformations were magical. Today, we know it as genetic expression and hybridization. But tell me that doesn't feel like watching evolution cosplay as mythology. Time for an update on the strangest connection between myth and biology. The coywolf, a coyote-wolf-dog hybrid roaming modern North America. Indigenous legends from tribes in the Northeast speak of the Trickster Wolf, or half-spirit hunters, that were smarter than wolves, but quieter than coyotes. For years, people assumed these legends were symbolic. Then, DNA tests revealed that coyotes in the region had been blending with wolves for over a century, creating a new hybrid, one that fits those early descriptions uncannily well. You start to realize the old stories weren't exaggerations. They were field notes. Now, if I could drop one controversial piece of biological wisdom here, it'd be this. Ancient people understood hybridization way better than we give them credit for. Think about the beefalo, a bison-cow hybrid officially created in the 20th century. Indigenous tribes of the Great Plains told stories of spirit beasts that were part buffalo, part domestic cattle, because early European cows sometimes mixed with wild bison. The tribes didn't know genetics, they just watched the animals and described what they saw. Honestly, that's better field research than some early Western scientists ever did. But here's a hybrid that ancient writers got almost eerily right. The mule, born from a male donkey and a female horse. Ancient Egyptians depicted what looked like oversized donkeys pulling royal chariots. Animals stronger and more enduring than horses. They didn't know why the offspring couldn't reproduce, but they knew it was special. And, thousands of years later, we still rely on the same hybrid for the same reasons. Out of every hybrid on this list, mules are the ones humans understood earliest, mastered earliest, and depended on longest. They were, really, our first deliberate experiment in hybrid engineering. That leads us to the hybrid that feels like someone lifted it straight out of medieval manuscripts, the savanna cat, a serval domestic cat mix. Medieval European travelers wrote about Wildhouse cats, long-legged, spotted creatures kept by desert wanderers. Scholars thought they were exaggerating, until African servals and local domestic cats were later found living close enough to occasionally interbreed. Modern breeders just formalized what ancient travelers were already seeing. It's not that they were telling tall tales. They were describing hybrids their readers had never encountered. But the hybrid that truly bridges the gap between ancient imagination and modern science is the yak-cow hybrid, often called the Zo in the Himalayas. Tibetan texts describe mountain beasts that were stronger than yaks, produced more milk, and could travel higher than cattle. At first glance, it sounds like a mythic exaggeration. But no, it's literally a hybrid, specifically bred to inherit the best traits of both parents. High-altitude strength, better endurance, more productivity. Exactly what the old stories claimed. This is one of the rare cases where myth didn't exaggerate. If anything, it undersold. And now you're ready for the most mysterious hybrid with ancient roots. The one that leaves researchers with more questions than answers. The wholphin, a hybrid between a false killer whale and a bottlenose dolphin. Polynesian legends describe sea creatures that were not dolphin, not whale, but something between, and for centuries people assumed it was symbolic language for sea spirits. Then, one day in the 1980s, an actual hybrid was born in captivity. Proof the two species can combine. Suddenly, the old stories started sounding strangely accurate. Were ancient sailors seeing hybrids in the wild? Were these rare animals always out there? Or were the stories based on misidentified species? Nobody knows. But the overlap between the myth and the biology is too close to ignore. If you're still here, you've probably noticed something. Every ancient storyteller was doing the same thing we do today, trying to understand the creatures around us. Some hybrids were intentional, some accidental, and some completely natural, but all of them reveal the same truth. Humans have always been obsessed with blurring the boundaries in nature, long before genetics became a science. The hybrids feel modern, but their roots? They're as old as the first stories humans ever told.